This is Fox 9 Good Day.
Welcome back. A local activist is hoping to spark a larger conversation with a new book for kids.
Nekima Levy Armstrong decided to write a children's book based on her experience out on the front lines fighting for justice in Minneapolis. Her book, titled J is for Justice, is coming out in just a few days. And Nekima joins us now this morning to tell us all about it. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Okay, this story, it centers all around baby Joy and her first experience attending a protest. And this is something that came out of your head, you said, one night based on your experiences with your daughter. Tell us more about that.
Yes, and so J is for Justice is a book that I wrote based upon my experience as a mother out on the front lines and taking my young daughter with. I'm an activist. I have helped to organize many protests and demonstrations. And as a part of that role, I'm conscious of the fact that parents are going to bring their children out to protest. And of course, I bring my daughter out when I think that it's a good, will be a good experience for her. And so in writing that book, I wanted to help spark a conversation amongst parents and their children or teachers and their children to talk about a lot of the racial justice issues that are happening, and also to talk about the power of children being able to use their voices when they see injustices happening around them, or if there are issues that they think needs to be brought to the forefront.
And I know this is a story because of what you and your daughter experienced, but you said you didn't go into this, you weren't trying to be an author. This wasn't something you had planned to do, but you had an epiphany one night. What happened?
Yes, so I knew that it was time for me to write a book, but I wasn't sure what form that book would take. I was thinking about adults initially, but I prayed and I just kept thinking I'm supposed to write a book. And I went to sleep one night and I just woke up in the middle of the night, took out my phone and wrote the first draft for J is for Justice. And that was in January of 2021. And after I read it, I couldn't believe it. I was just amazed. Like, this is an actual story that makes sense to me, that makes sense, I believe, to the children who are out on the front lines or who are witnessing protests unfolding. And so the next morning, I called Dara Beavis, who is the co-owner of Wise Ink Publishing Company. She is a Black woman, and her focus is on uplifting amazing authors, particularly women, but also women of color. And so I said, I think I have something here. And she said, send it over. And after I did and she read it, she said, yes, you have something. This is a book. And we're going to work with you. We're going to put a team around you, and we're going to make this happen.
So there were, as we know, many protests, and the book is based on a lot of, when you've attended protests with your daughter. And I thought what was really interesting is in the beginning, she was maybe afraid and expressed, like, are they going to hurt me? But instead, she became really inspired and energized by lending that voice.
Yes, absolutely. And so when I think about my daughter is outgoing, but she's also very shy. She's a kindergartner, so she's 5 years old, and she pays attention to the things happening around her. And there are times when she hears loud noises or, sees people that she considers strangers, that she becomes more apprehensive. And so through the book, I wanted to explore the fact that it's not always natural for a child to join a protest or even to understand what's going on. So as adults, how do we use that as a teaching opportunity? And also helping our children to be open to embrace what is happening in community rather than being fearful of it. So often as parents, we try to shield our children from difficult conversations, but the reality is that a lot of our children have access to social media. They have access to the television. They're talking to their peers about the things happening around them. So as parents, I believe that we should understand that our children are already exposed to a lot. So why not move forward with intentionality by intentionally raising those conversations with our children and giving them the opportunity to ask questions and to hear our perspectives as adults.
And tools like this help parents have these conversations and see through a different set of eyes. You've been able to take this book around to local classrooms and read to the kids. And what has been the reaction that you've had?
It's been absolutely phenomenal. Last week I had an opportunity to visit the Josie Johnson Legacy School located in North Minneapolis, and it was an electrifying experience to connect with the children, to have them sit attentively and listen to the story, but also to be engaged as I went through the portions of the book that have chants, included in there. The children would recite the chants, and then after we listened to the story, after I read the story, the children actually went back to their classrooms and their teachers conducted impromptu mini lessons about the book. And so the children had an opportunity to engage. They actually created their own signs, and then we went on a children's march through the school. It was so powerful. It felt revolutionary. It felt like we were bringing the movement that we have been involved in the streets into the classrooms in a way that children can understand.
We know what we've been through, post George Floyd, and of course even before that was traumatic for so many people, and that of course is the big story. But personally for you, on top of this book and what you have written, this beautiful story with your daughter, you've had you underwent kind of a difficult year. Mm-hmm. You had a brain tumor, and how has this process of maybe getting this book together out there for people to read, how has this helped you during this healing process?
This book has been literally a godsend for me personally, because after I got the news that I was diagnosed with a brain tumor, I didn't know what was going to happen after that. I didn't know if I would be able to be here, for example, talking to you all and having a good quality of life. But one of the things that I held on to was the fact that I had written this book, that the illustrations were really beautiful, that children were going to connect to this book, and I saw it as a part of my legacy. In other words, if this is the last thing that I do before my surgery and not knowing what's going to happen on the other side, I felt good about it. And I was grateful to be leaving a story with young folks, in honor of young folks, that they can then read, internalize, and then utilize. And so that meant so much to me. And throughout my recovery, I just kept thinking, I have my book to look forward to. I can go into classrooms. I can connect with children. And so all of those things, I think, helped with my recovery.
For sure. Had to see it through.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Nekima, we appreciate you being here and bringing your book along. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Thanks,
if you guys want to check it out, this new children's book, J is for Justice, will be released February 21st, but is available now, pre-order, on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Itasca Books.